85% of Greenland, the world's largest island, is covered in ice. It is also home to 10% of the world's ice mass.
From thunderstorm approach, you can remain on this frequency, and when crossing 68 north, change frequency to thunderstorm information north 120.3.
Skier 96, on passing 68 north.
This is the Jakobshavn Glacier. At 9 kilometers a year, it is currently the world's fastest moving glacier. Historians and scientists believe this mass of draining ice produced the iceberg that sunk the Titanic ocean liner in 1912. It is also a glacier which could contribute to sinking coastlines of major countries if it were to melt completely. Greenland is one of the fastest warming locations on the planet. The average temperature here is 4 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it was a decade ago. If continued warming caused most of Greenland's ice to melt, sea levels would rise roughly 20 feet. Scientists looking at satellites believe southern Greenland is currently losing 25 cubic miles of ice per year. These statistics have placed Greenland at the center of the global warming debate.
In all humankind's existence, it has been a basic thing of life that climate has changed.
In Kangerlussuaq, the hub of scientific activity in Greenland, University of Copenhagen scientist Jørgen Steffensen is preparing for a summer on Greenland's ice sheet.
Have you tied over that, Simon?
He studies cross-sections of the packed ice, called ice cores, that he gathers from drilling deep inside the ice sheet.
So whatever falls as snow on the ice cap never goes away. It just piles up. And therefore the ice cap, the mass of ice you have covering Greenland, is actually a beautiful layered cake of snowfall upon snowfall nicely piled up over the eons.
Summit, the tallest point in Greenland. It sits on top of 3,300 meters of ice. It is 400 kilometers from land, and it is one of several locations where ice core samples are gathered. In this barren, frozen expanse, scientists like Roger Bales take advantage of the pristine conditions to gather data that will help other scientists like Steffensen understand the evidence in the ice core samples.
And this is a very clean station. As you know, there's pollution in cities, but there's also global pollution. So we come here to one of the cleanest places in the Northern Hemisphere to really understand what's happening globally.
What is happening globally over the years is that the temperature is rising. Ice core samples give scientists an idea of how fast the ice melted during certain periods and how much carbon and gas was in the atmosphere when the snow fell. It might be hard to fathom that the planet is getting warmer, standing in sub-zero temperatures in one of the coldest places on Earth. But almost every scientist who works here has come to the same conclusion, either by evidence gathered in the ice or by data collected by experts on the atmosphere, like Greg Huey.
Global warming is a fact in the scientific community.
What is not conclusive is whether or not mankind is responsible.
People might argue about how fast it is. They might argue about what steps to take, but no one argues that it has to be greenhouse gas emissions and that the planet is warming, and that unless we want to live in a very different climate for our children and our grandchildren, we're going to have to do something about the carbon in the atmosphere.
Because the climate system is so full of variation, of natural variation, that to filter out whether this present warming is a natural variation or it's man-made, that's impossible. It's a very strong correlation between our emissions and the heating we are seeing today.
Much of the research being conducted in Greenland today helps provide sound scientific evidence to lawmakers and leaders around the world.
We want people to know that the atmosphere is changing and that we have these global atmospheric measurements, and the evidence is solid for that, and it provides, I think, a sound basis for decision makers to on which to base mitigation measures.
But what scientists like Stephenson fear most is the unknown.
Instead of a gradual warming, we could have something terrible happen. And the worst thing we would like now with 6 billion people in the world is unpredictability. That would be the worst. So that's what I fear, is the unpredictability. And it could be triggered by our actions.
Kane Fairbaugh, VOA News, Kangerlussuaq, Greenland.